I'm Helena Humphrey in Washington, and this is BBC World News America. Following the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister, Downing Street suggests Mr. Netanyahu could be arrested if he travels to the UK. One day after firing a new hypersonic missile into Ukraine, President Vladimir Putin says Russia has a stockpile of powerful new missiles ready to be used. And a New York judge indefinitely delays President-elect Donald Trump's sentencing in his criminal hush money case. Welcome to World News America. Good to have you with us. Downing Street has indicated that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu could face arrest if he travels to the UK after the International Criminal Court issued a warrant on Thursday. A government spokesperson refused to comment directly on the case, but said that the UK will fulfill its legal obligations. Well, Mr. Netanyahu was accused of committing war crimes in Gaza, but has blasted the ICC's allegations accusing the court of bias and anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, the UN says that 2024 is the deadliest year on record for humanitarian aid workers operating in conflict zones. Well, Russia says that it has a stockpile of the new hypersonic ballistic missiles that it used to attack the Ukrainian city of Dnipro on Thursday. President Vladimir Putin says that he's ordering the missile system into full-scale production, vowing to use them in, quote, combat conditions. Vladimir Putin is publicly praising the missile system, known as Oreshnik, claiming that it's impossible to shoot it down. His Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, says that he's talking with allies about new air defense systems to ward off the experimental weapon. Now, though Thursday's attack used a conventional warhead, it's thought that the missile system is mainly designed to deliver nuclear weapons. Donald Trump's sentencing in his New York hush money trial is being delayed indefinitely. Mr. Trump was found guilty in May of falsifying business records to cover up an alleged sexual encounter with the porn star Stormy Daniels, but his sentence had yet to be decided. He now won't face punishment for at least the duration of his upcoming second term in office, which ends in January 2029. Mr. Trump's lawyers now want the case thrown out entirely on the basis of presidential immunity. The COP29 climate summit is expected to continue into the weekend as arguments persist about how much rich countries should pay to help poorer nations combat global warming. Delegates in Baku have been trying to negotiate a deal that would dramatically increase the amount of money that wealthier countries give to poorer ones to help them adapt to global warming. The deal proposes that wealthier countries give $250 billion per year to developing nations by 2035 to help tackle climate change. The figure is up from the $100 billion a year currently in place, but it is still much lower than the $1.3 trillion a year from public funds that poorer nations have asked for. Well, our climate editor Justin Rolat is at the COP summit in Baku. Remember, you can always find more of the day's news on our website, that is bbc.com/news. Plus, to find out what we are working on anytime, make sure to check us out on your favourite social media platform. I'm Helena Humphrey. Thanks for watching World News America. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.
And if you want to carry on watching Newsnight, please turn over to BBC Two or watch on iPlayer.
Do stay with us here on BBC News for all the latest headlines in the US and around the world from the team here in Washington.
I'm Helena Humphrey in Washington, and this is BBC World News America. After the International Criminal Court issues an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister, Downing Street suggests Mr. Netanyahu could be arrested if he travels to the UK. One day after firing a new hypersonic missile into Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin says that his country has a stockpile of powerful new missiles ready to be used. And a New York judge indefinitely delays President-elect Donald Trump's sentencing in his criminal hush money case. Welcome to World News America. Good to have you with us. The British government indicated on Friday that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu could face arrest if he travels to the UK. It comes a day after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Mr. Netanyahu over alleged war crimes in Gaza. Well, a government spokesperson refused to comment directly on the case, but said that the UK will fulfil, quote, its legal obligations. Mr. Netanyahu was accused of committing war crimes in Gaza, but has blasted the ICC's allegations, accusing the court of bias and anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, Israeli forces continued their military campaign across Lebanon's eastern and southern fronts. Take a look at some of the latest pictures that we have coming in from the capital. Now, this strike just took place moments ago in Beirut's southern suburbs, shortly after the Israeli military issued evacuation warnings in the area. Juan Gabriel Wells there. Well, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky called on world leaders to respond seriously after Russia attacked his country with a new kind of hypersonic ballistic missile. He said Ukraine was already talking with allies about providing new air defense systems. Russian President Vladimir Putin has publicly praised the missile system known as Oreshnik, used to attack the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. Though that attack used a conventional warhead, it's thought that the missile system is mainly designed to deliver nuclear weapons. Mr. Putin said the decision was made to begin serial production of the experimental weapon and that the level of technology could pose a risk beyond Ukraine's border. With a range of about 3,000 miles, it's a weapon that would be capable of reaching targets across Europe. In Southeast Asia, a sixth tourist has died in a suspected mass methanol poisoning in Laos. The Australian government says that a 19-year-old backpacker, Holly Bowles, died in a hospital in Thailand. She was on holiday with her best friend, Bianca Jones, who has also died. 28-year-old Simone White, a lawyer from the UK, died yesterday. They were in a town called Vang Vieng in Laos that's popular among backpackers. Two other victims, aged 19 and 20, were from Denmark, and an American man in his 50s has also died. Well, some of those who fell ill were taken to hospital in neighbouring Thailand, and Rupert Wingfield-Hayes sent us this report from there. The judge in Donald Trump's hush money case ordered his sentencing to be delayed indefinitely. The president-elect was scheduled to be sentenced next Tuesday, but that's now been suspended in what his team is calling a victory. Mr. Trump was found guilty in May on 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up a payment he made to an adult film star. His lawyers argue that his conviction should be dismissed on the grounds of presidential immunity. The Texas Education Board approved a controversial new Bible-based curriculum for students at public schools in the state. The curriculum follows Republican-led efforts to give religion more of a presence in public schools. Materials will be optional for schools, but if they use the lessons in the classroom, they'll receive additional funding. Now, in the US, the First Amendment protects freedom of religion and the separation of church and state. Opponents of the bill say that children would not be able to tell the difference between faith and fact. Supporters say that the Bible is core to America's history and will enrich learning. Well, the vote approved the change for English language, arts and reading. Other votes are underway for the rest of the curriculum. Well, we can talk about all of this now with Jaden Edison, a public education reporter with the Texas Tribune. Welcome to you, Jaden. Thank you for joining us on the programme. So we've got a majority of the Texas State Board of Education approving this, but it was close if you take a look at it, 8 votes to 7. When you've been speaking to educators, when you've been speaking to parents, how do they feel about this in the state? The COP29 climate summit is expected to continue into the weekend as arguments persist about how much rich countries should pay to help poorer nations combat global warming. Well, delegates in Baku have been trying to negotiate a deal that would dramatically increase the amount of money that wealthier countries give to poorer ones to help them adapt to global warming. Well, the deal proposes wealthier countries give $250 billion per year to developing nations by 2035 to help tackle climate change. And that figure is up from the $100 billion a year currently in place, but it's still much lower than the $1.3 trillion a year from public funds that poorer nations have asked for. Well, our climate editor Justin Rolat is at that summit and has more information on what comes next. Well, just a piece of news to bring you. That is Donald Trump making another appointment to his cabinet. That's according to our US media partners. CBS News. He's tapped Scott Bessent, a long-time hedge fund investor who taught at Yale University for several years, to be his Treasury Secretary, and he will replace Janet Yellen. Well, I'm Helena Humphrey. Thank you for watching World News America. Remember, you can always get the latest on our website, bbcnews.com, or you can follow us on your favourite social media platform. I'll have more world news for you at the top of the hour. I'll see you then. Bye for now.
Hello there. Storm Bert is bringing wet and windy weather in from the Atlantic and bringing with